In this video, I'm going to share with you my entire health protocol from A to Z. Now, this is going to be nutrition, supplementation, training, sleep, how I've optimized everything specifically for Ramadan. Okay. Now, I was messing with AI, trying to put together kind of my entire protocol, all the supplements I'm taking, my entire diet. And I was looking at it and I was like, this would be a pretty valuable breakdown. So I wanted to share it. And then also keep in mind, although I do break things down in how I tailored it to Ramadan specifically in this video, obviously optimizing your health during Ramadan is not that different from optimizing your health period. So it's going to be valuable regardless what time of year you're watching this in, but we'll break it down. So let's get into my full health protocol. We don't need any other introduction. You get the point. I'm going to go over every detail now. So let me just be clear. During Ramadan, your health is going to take a hit. Don't prioritize your health over the actual purpose of this month, which is to dedicate ourselves to attaining taqwa for the sake of God, right? So it's just an important reminder, but at the same time, we can optimize our health as much as possible in order to have more energy, to have more focus and khushu' and tarawih while we're praying, and to be able to do our acts of worship in a better way. So that's the purpose. Without further ado, let's get into it. So my suhoor plate, which is the meal that we have before we start fasting, here's some principles to follow. Number one, you want to eat this as late as possible. You don't want to fast longer for no reason. Okay, so I'm having suhoor at like 5:30 or 5:40, right? Never skip it. A lot of people, they have a lot of misconceptions about how we should be eating versus not eating certain foods. Like they think carbs just equals carbs means bad, right? This isn't the case. Carbs are really helpful during suhoor. They're going to delay the stress hormone cortisol for longer in the day, which cortisol rises when you're fasted. Also, especially when you first get into Ramadan, if you're changing your sleep schedule a lot, it can mess with your hormones throughout the day. So it's really important to eat low inflammatory foods and fats, sodium for water retention, having enough carbs, and slow release protein. I'll get into some more detail with that. Protein obviously is important so that you don't lose as much muscle. And sodium is very good for you. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. It's really good for your hormones. And it's good for retaining water anyways. Like a lot of people think that sodium makes your body dry or something. No, sodium or electrolytes as a whole allow your body to absorb, your cells to retain the water. Okay, so it's really important that you're getting enough sodium while you're fasting. And by the way, the reason like you might think, or a lot of people think that basically they can't have too much sodium is actually not because they're having too much sodium, but because they're not having enough of the other electrolytes, which is magnesium and potassium. And so you need a good balance between those. And because a lot of our food, the soil is so depleted of nutrients, our food are depleted from these nutrients and these minerals. So most people are deficient in magnesium and potassium. So you want to have all three, but I'll get into that in a little bit here. So I'll just walk through what I have I'll have this for breakfast, when it's not Ramadan, but also having it for suhoor. And I also optimized it a little bit. So very simple. I'll have a toast of sourdough bread. You always want to get organic everything, guys. I can't stress this enough. If you are not getting organic foods, you are consuming so many pesticides and chemicals that are destroying your hormones, nuking your every single health function in your body. I don't even need to get into detail with this. You just have to trust me on this one. Okay. Really important for bread as well. Also, sourdough bread is the bread that's easiest on the gut. And I really just eat it because it's good. I'll have it with olive oil as well. Actually, don't recommend adopting bread. Like there's no reason that you necessarily need to be adding this to your diet. But it's like, if you like bread, this is the bread I recommend. So I'll have one slice of that. I'll layer a bunch of cottage cheese on it. Now, cottage cheese is beneficial, especially during Ramadan, because it has casein protein, which releases slowly throughout the day, right? So you have two types of protein, whey and casein. Whey protein absorbs immediately. Casein protein kind of drip feeds your body throughout the day. So it's helpful, obviously, while you're fasting. So I'll have that. On top of that, I'll put sardines. So I'll layer sardines. So this is basically a sardine toast. A lot of omega-3 fats, which are beneficial. Sardines also have calcium. By the way, quick side note, I've tailored my protocol here to a back injury that I have. So it's really centered around healing, low inflammation. I would eat all of this regardless, except for a few supplements that I'm going to get into that are specifically for my back. But I just wanted to mention that because I forgot to earlier. So keep that in mind. So that's why the calcium in the sardines are very helpful for me. Vitamin D as well, vitamin B12. And it's basically a superfood, right? It's very beneficial. Next, I'll throw some tomatoes on there, jalapenos, capers. Obviously, I'll put salt, pepper, And then sometimes I'll also have a side of bread and olive oils, the sourdough and olive oil, which obviously olive oil is very healthy for you and anti-inflammatory. But just to be clear, all this here is really just for taste. Okay, there's no magical health benefit. But obviously, this is very filling, decent amount of protein, maybe 30, 40 grams of protein. And then, yeah, let's get into it. So now, what would I avoid at suhoor? Too many omega-6 heavy fats, other cheeses, nut butters, avocado, eggs cooked in seed oil. Now, first of all, the avocado, take that with a grain of salt. Okay, you're not going to die if you're going to have avocado, and there's a lot of benefits, but it's too much to get into detail on why exactly I wouldn't have it while I'm fasting or before I fast. But all these are going to increase PUFA mobilization and worsen lipid peroxidation during your fasting. Now, basically, what that means is your cells are gonna age faster, could raise inflammation, disease, cancers. That's what lipid peroxidation causes. So side note for health as well, you don't want to be too autistic with this. Like, oh, I'm gonna die if I don't do this exact thing. Like, that's not how your body works. But we want to limit risks as much as possible. Now, on top of the toast, I'll have a shake. Okay, shakes are really nice. Just period. As a man, if you need more calories, you need to build more muscle. Shakes has they have built my physique. Okay, why? Because it's just something you can down really easily. You don't, even if you're full, you can chug a shake, right? You can have it. You can drink it, even if you're full, and it's very easy to put together, right? You don't have to spend a bunch of time cooking. So what will I put in mine? You can put all sorts of stuff in your shake, like supplement that I can get in high quality powder form. I'll just throw it in my shake, right? Unless the timing is specific, because I'll have my shake usually in the morning. Now, protein powder, obviously, I'll have raw whole eggs. Eggs are a superfood, especially when they're raw. Because when you cook eggs, now, not to say there's no benefits from cooked eggs, very, very healthy for you. But when you cook eggs, it also degrades some of the nutrients. So raw, you're getting all of the nutrients. Obviously, you should know that eggs are extremely beneficial for you, beneficial fats. And next, I'll have collagen peptides. Now, this is specifically for healing my back. So I'll have 10 grams of collagen. But as you can see, my skin's not looking too bad. Collagen, I've noticed it helps a lot with skin, also hair and nails. Okay, so I'll have 10 grams in the morning and night. I'll have L-theanine, which basically it pairs really well with caffeine. And L-theanine I find it helps me with my focus. And if you pair it with caffeine, it can kind of take away some of the jittery, kind of anxious effect of caffeine. It has calming effects. It's also beneficial before sleep. Wheat germ, I've added, it has spermidine, which essentially helps with autophagy during fasting. So while you're fasting, what begins to happen, especially after a significant amount of time, 12, 16 hours of fasting, your cells, your body starts consuming or breaking down the harmful cells in your body for energy, right? So it's a very beneficial process for your health. Helps with that. MCT oil, good for fuel, good for energy. Obviously, superfood. They have boron, which raises testosterone, and a lot of potassium as well, which is good for electrolytes. And it's also very beneficial because it is a slow release carb. So although dates have a lot of sugar, so you have to be careful to not eat 20 dates every day, okay? Because it's really easy to overeat them. But their sugars, I'm not a scientist with this stuff, but basically the sugars absorb differently to how like a can of soda would because of the other ingredients in it. So it's very helpful. Honey, raw honey, good for glycogen, liver support. Also just good for things like blood flow, nitric oxide as well. And then I'll have A2 milk. Now, this is very important, okay? You guys have probably heard raw milk is good, which it is, but I would rather have pasteurized A2 milk than raw regular milk. Now, you might not know about this, but most of the milks that you go and buy at the store, they're A1 milk, okay? They have these A1 proteins, which I'm not going to get into too much detail with it. Now, regular milk, when you go to the store, basically everything you see is regular milk unless it says A2. Actually, most people that think that they're lactose intolerant actually are just intolerant to the A1 proteins in regular milk, okay? It's bad for digestion. There's a lot of negative effects. Ideally, let me just describe the perfect milk, because you're not always going to find this stuff at stores, but the perfect milk would be raw A2 in a glass bottle, okay? Because a lot of the milk packaging that they have has endocrine disruptors, plastics, microplastics in your milk. It's not good. You don't want to be putting that in your body. And obviously a lot of milks have all sorts of stuff, hormones. Oh, I didn't mention as well, ideally grass-fed. It's not a huge deal if it's not grass-fed, but ideally, right? It's going to have more of the beneficial nutrients. Yeah, so let's move on. Next, hydration. You want to be drinking, obviously, a lot of water, but you want to be drinking electrolyte water, okay? Listen to me. If you just drink a bunch of plain water, tap water, you shouldn't be drinking tap water, period, okay? You want reverse osmosis filtered water, ideally, or mineral water in glass bottles. Okay, if you're drinking tap water, you're completely polluting your body with hormones. The water system does not filtrate. It does not filter out hormones from birth control. You're drinking birth control. You're drinking estrogenic water. You're drinking microplastics, heavy metals. And it's been a while since I did this, but there's a website. I think it's just for the US, but it might be everywhere. There's a website that tells you amount of metals and plastics and all these chemicals in your water. And whenever I went to my, water district, and I put in a bunch of other cities, literally every single tap water for every single city that I tried out had levels of all types of chemicals and endocrine disruptors and things that just ruin your health. Like they had like 1,000x the limits, the safe limits, right? And even the safe limits are like, you can't really trust the FDA with that, right? So I really recommend to do whatever you can, save your money, get a reverse osmosis water filter. Your Brita water filter is not enough. Your refrigerator filter is not enough. Like, it's not good. It does not filter out all the harmful things. It's just not capable of it. There's all types of chlorine, all this stuff. You don't want to be putting it in your body, okay? You're destroying your health. So that's one. But two, even with that filtered water, you want to be putting minerals in it. So if anything, add salt to it, obviously. But if you want to know what I take, I take Element. So as sodium, potassium, magnesium, which is obviously the most optimal. And you want to be using a lot in the morning and chugging that throughout your meal. Okay. You don't want to be chugging it all at once because you're going to end up just peeing most of it out. But throughout your meal, right when you wake up and then throughout your meal, you want to be keeping hydrated. Because, by the way, like, the fasting from food is honestly very easy. It's the hydration that matters a lot, and that could affect your performance throughout the day. So right after my suhoor, I'll go pray Fajr at the masjid if I can. And then you always want to walk after a big meals period, okay? Or actually meals period. Always want to be walking. Look, you should be walking regardless. It's really good for inflammation. It's really good for digestion. It's really good for fat oxidation. Adopt that as a habit, okay? Everybody should be doing that after they eat. But obviously, after you have a big meal like suhoor, you want to be walking, okay? So next, I'll go over my supplements. Next, my supplement protocol for optimal health. Now, let me be clear. You don't need to take all these supplements, okay? Again, I have a back injury I'm working through, but also I'll specify the bare minimum, like what supplements you really should be taking. Everything else is kind of a bonus, but obviously, let's go through it first so that you understand. So I take UC2 collagen. This is a different form of collagen specifically for my back injury, okay? So that's the only reason I take it. TTFD, which is thiamine or vitamin B1. I'm taking it for energy. It's very good for metabolism, very good for your dopamine. And obviously take it in the morning because you don't want high energy when you're trying to go to sleep. So I would look into that as well. TTFD is the form that I take. So I specifically take those on an empty stomach, by the way. And then what do I take with food? So vitamin E is very good for while you're fasting, especially. So it helps with fat oxidation. So some of those harmful effects that I described with, eating a bunch of different cheeses and nuts and seed oils and things like this kind of mitigates the effect of that. I'll also have caffeine, and this is totally wrong. This is how much caffeine I'll usually have, and I'll usually have, coffee. During Ramadan, I've been taking 25 milligrams, very small dose, not for energy, literally just to prevent withdrawals, right? Because I didn't get to taper down as much as I wanted to, which really is painful the first few days of Ramadan period whenever you just cut out caffeine, right? Headaches, all types of stuff. You don't want to be going through that while, you're fasting from water and everything, right? So I'll have a little pill with my suhoor. By the way, caffeine pills, life hack, right? Anytime you don't have coffee, first of all, very cheap, okay? And I'll take out the pill, pour a little bit of the powder on my orange juice, by the way, which I didn't mention for suhoor, so should mention that now. I'll also have orange juice, which is very beneficial for hydration. Orange juice is kind of like a superfood to me, okay? Very good for you. Next, just to be clear, I'm testing out Peniolon, which is a peptide, okay? So, and this is also like a peptide that's not commonly taken. It's not FDA approved, okay? So just be careful, okay? I'm testing it out for sleep benefits and for cognitive benefits. Now, you can look into it if you want. It has a lot of very, very insane benefits. I'm not qualified to talk about it because, again, I'm experimenting with it. There's a lot of people on X and a lot of articles on it. A lot of very interesting studies where lifespans increased for people that were tested, et cetera, et cetera. But we know that the pharmaceutical industry does not want that for us. So that's why we don't know about these things. But again, I'm testing it out. I'll have to let you know what are the effects. It's only my first few days taking it. I'll take vitamin C. Vitamin C is very beneficial with the collagen, right? Because collagen needs the vitamin C to synthesize. So without taking vitamin C, it doesn't really work. I'll also take turmeric, curcumin. Now, this is specifically for inflammation for my back, so I can reduce it and inshallah heal. Vitamin D3 plus K2. Now, this is a requirement for everybody, okay? This, I would say you have to be taking this. You need to be taking it because most of us are deficient in vitamin D. But just to be clear, it's not a replacement for the sun. So you want to be getting as much sunlight as possible, even if you can't see it, even if it's cloudy, whatever you think, you still want to be getting sunlight on your skin as much as possible. Vitamin K2, now that's for my back. That's also for healing. What do I take with iftar? I'll take aspirin. Also, you can take this in the morning, doesn't matter that much, but it's anti-inflammatory. A lot of good benefits, kind of like vitamin E. Omega-3 fish oils. So I'm really just primarily taking a lot of this for inflammation for my back. Again, boron increases free testosterone, so very beneficial. And it also helps you utilize magnesium and vitamin D3 better. It's also very good for bone density. Zinc and copper, also very good for testosterone. Now, I recommend getting this from your diet, but obviously we don't have the best diets, but you want to be eating a lot of red meats. That's where you're going to get as much zinc as possible. Just a small comment. Most zinc supplements are the dose is way too much. Okay. They're like 50 milligrams. You don't want to be taking that much. I would say you want to be taking maybe 20 milligrams if you're supplementing it, plus 2 milligrams of copper. Now, the copper is very important because if you're just taking zinc, no copper, it throws off the balances and you might end up lowering your testosterone or worsening your hormones. So yeah. And then obviously zinc has a lot of other benefits than testosterone. And then ginger, good for digestion, anti-inflammatory, just good overall. And then you want to ideally be eating that in your food. And then hyaluronic acid, again, that's for my tissues, for healing my back. Now, before I go to sleep every night, now I do this Ramadan, not Ramadan. I found this to be very, very helpful. I'll have a drink with, it's not mentioned here, but milk, A2 milk, my collagen. So my nightly dose, 10 grams of collagen. That obviously helps with healing my back. Glycine, which is really, really helpful for sleep quality and relaxation. So this is basically just my sleep potion, you could call it, right? Also good for sleep, just good overall, a lot of different benefits for taurine. And then vitamin C, again, with the collagen for synthesis, and then magnesium glycinate. This would be the other mandatory supplement. Specifically, I would say magnesium, period, right? Glycinate is a specific form. It's really good for sleep. It's really helpful, period. But magnesium is another one of those nutrients that everybody is very deficient in. I would say this is the most crucial supplement, more than vitamin D3. You want to be taking this. Matter of fact, if you're just taking vitamin D3, it's like you need the magnesium. They work in tandem, right? There's a lot of different beneficial forms that you want to avoid. You can probably look this up because I don't remember all the names, but magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate, or whatever it's called, probably avoid those. Off the top of my head, other beneficial forms that I remember, magnesium acetyltaurate is really good. Magnesium L-threonate, really good. So you can do research into that. I take glycinate. But let's get more into understanding how the body works while we're fasting. Obviously, we fast between Fajr and Maghrib, right? So autophagy peaks. I mentioned the benefits of autophagy earlier. Your metabolic functions start changing, okay? Because your body starts adapting to the fast and changing how you energy, right? And makes you more efficient. Also, certain, I don't know if these are DNA strings or whatever, but I don't know what these would be called specifically, but there's a lot of functions in your body that upregulate and improve longevity. So obviously that's very good. Gut microbiome. So your gut is healing itself. Most of the time, people think about gut health as like, oh, let me take this supplement or this thing to improve my gut health. A lot of your gut health would just be better off if you just ate less foods. Okay, that's how much we're damaging our body with all the poisons in the food. So anyways, when we're fasting, our gut microbiome starts changing. Spermidine, again, helpful with autophagy. Casein is releasing throughout the day, about 8 hours. It's releasing. And then, by the way, you can also have casein protein in literally like a protein supplement. Although I always recommend to try to eat, get your nutrients from foods, because a lot of these supplements, they have other ingredients. You don't know exactly where it's coming from. You don't know what heavy metals might be in it. Okay. So, and then fat oxidation. So after the glycogen in your body and your muscles depletes, your body starts using fat as primary fuel. So vitamin E, again, it protects your body and your cells during this process. Now, what are some rules to follow while you're fasting? Avoid a lot of heat. Obviously, you don't want to be out in the sun all day because that exerts you physically. Very, very important. This is especially for sleep, okay? You have to get sunlight in the morning. As soon as the sun gets out, you want to be getting sunlight, okay? This tells your body that it's daytime, so your body learns to produce all the necessary hormones and chemicals. It tells your body basically when do I need to be asleep and when do I need to be awake, right? And this influences your entire kind of hormonal system. If you don't do that, for example, like people that say they're working night jobs, absolutely. I mean, look, I would literally rather take a huge pay cut than ever work a night job. You're destroying your health. It's very, very harmful. Don't do that to yourself. So when your body goes through this time and it doesn't know, get morning light. In fact, it's the most important part about getting morning light is it tells your body when you need to get sleepy. So if you're not falling asleep at night, it's probably because you're not getting morning light, right? Or if you struggle with insomnia, it's probably one of the factors, right? Yeah, in the morning, you're obviously your cognition is at its highest. So you want to be doing all the hardest work, deep work, between say 7 a.m. and 12 p.m., right? And then it can, sometimes when your body starts moving from, using glycogen to, what is it called? To ketones for fuel, that energy can pick back up. But, by the way, just to be clear, then obviously the morning is the best for doing any type of deep work, anything that's cognitively expensive. I think I said that right. So 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. This one when you want to be doing as much work as possible. Sometimes when the ketones come back at the very end of your fast, you can have some more energy, but typically in the afternoon, you're going to be lower energy. Now, what do I actually have for iftar? Now, obviously, I plan out my breakfast daily, but something like dinner, it changes a lot. But I'll kind of walk you through an ideal meal and then kind of some of the principles, okay? But the purpose of iftar, obviously, we want to break our fast as possible to take ourselves away from the stressful state of fasting. So phase one, obviously, right when you break your fast, have some dates. It's sunnah, right? Have a little bit of water. Coconut water is very helpful because it has coconut water is helpful, period, for electrolytes. But especially it's high in potassium, not as high as in sodium, but really good for rehydration. After that, you go pray Maghrib. Then you go back and eat, right? It's really important to kind of warm up your system first. Tell it, okay, now it's time. We're going to start eating again. That's why you break it. Go pray 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you come back. Then you'll have your main meal. Now you don't want to stuff yourself too much. But look, here's the key. Do not be eating a bunch of these fried foods or any food that's unhealthy. I'm talking like abundant sweets. This is really important. For Ramadan, breaking your fast, do not be eating fried foods, a bunch of foods with too much sugar, or really any added sugar at all. Sweets, all this stuff. Like your body has been fasting for hours and you're going to refuel it with garbage. What are you doing? Okay. That's unacceptable. If you want to be healthy, beautiful, strong, fuel your body with beneficial foods. Okay. So what does that mean? Protein, especially red meats. Okay. Matter of fact, salmon, you want to be very careful with this. Now, if you're going to eat salmon, wild caught salmon only, but you want to be careful with the source because a lot of different store-bought salmon, parasites, so it depends, right? But I have a good source of salmon. Salmon is beneficial, but I really like red meats. Very helpful for testosterone, very helpful for your hormones overall. By the way, it's the exact same thing if you're a woman. Okay. So don't think when I say helpful for your testosterone, it means, it doesn't mean it's good for women. Very, very important for women, especially during your period. So red meats, matter of fact, let me take this. Look, here's what I limit myself to: salmon, fish, red meats, chicken. Bone broth is very good for your digestive system and your gut health. But I would say the most optimal, if I could eat it every single day, it'd be red meat. So I'm talking ground beef, lamb, steaks. This is what you want to be putting in your body. These are superfoods, okay? Next, complex carbs. So rice, lentils, sweet potatoes are very good as well. Potatoes, basic stuff. Don't be too autistic with this. Just try to get organic again, just to reiterate that. Vegetables, you can have some fiber, really good. You don't want too much fiber because it can kind of do some harm with your gut. It can, be a bit too much to process. But look, by the way, I'll talk about this in another video. When I do make it, I'll link it somewhere here. But vegetables are not healthy for you, okay? Vegetables does not equal I'm eating healthy, okay? A lot of vegetables have a lot of harmful anti-nutrients, oxalates. A lot of the vegetables have pesticides, okay? So especially things that they trick you into thinking is very healthy, like broccoli, spinach, kale, these leafy greens. Very, very little nutrient. Not that many nutrients, a lot of anti-nutrients, and then a lot of harmful stuff. So overall, my principle when it comes to diet is just try to avoid the harmful stuff, okay? And then don't be too autistic with everything else. But, obviously, if that's your first time hearing that, you're going to be like, oh, like, what do I even eat? red meats, carbs, few vegetables are really beneficial, but other than that, keep it simple. So we're meant to eat. We're not meant to eat 70,000 different ingredients during the day. Next, fats, olive oil, avocado. You can have it. Very good for hormones, vitamins, to absorb the vitamins that you take during the evening. And then also fermented food is really good. So I'll have sauerkraut or kimchi with my meals. Want to be careful with the kimchi though. It can be spicy, not can kind of counteract some of the good gut benefits, but still is going to be beneficial. Again, just avoid the trash. You know what the trash is. Just because your family is serving it, don't poison yourself. Okay. There's zero. If a food is not actively making you better, giving you more testosterone, more energy, more focus, more muscle, there's no point in eating it. Okay. Don't consume garbage. Next, hydration. Same thing. Coconut water is really good. I'm specifying coconut water for the evening because it's better, especially with the potassium content. But what's really important is you want to be hydrating all evening. Okay. You want to force yourself to kind of drink water, right? Because you're going to be full. You might drink a bit of water, but you might still be dehydrated. It's really important that you hydrate throughout the evening, as long as you're awake. Okay. So you want to be getting at least like 2 liters between iftar and sleeping. So after iftar, obviously you want to go to the tarawih. And so before I go, I'll prepare that nighttime kind of milk, collagen, glycine, taurine drink that I mentioned, so that I can go straight to sleep when I get home from tarawih. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about training. What is my workout approach? Now let me just be clear. There's no just fully optimal time to train during Ramadan. Okay. It's very difficult. There's no perfect window. So I would say it depends on you. What do you respond best to? But I'm training before suhoor. Now I'm also minimizing training 2 days a week. Before I'd go maybe 3-4 days a week. This is not the time to be trying to build muscle, to put weight on in the gym. It's really just to maintain, right? So during fasting hours, kind of unideal to train. You're dehydrated, low on glycogen in your muscles. Your cortisol is elevated. It elevates your cortisol, your stress hormones even more. And then so you're at risk of injury. You're not going to get that much benefit from it. But I will say, actually today, I'm going to test out, which is very intensive, but if I can do it right before, like if you're going to train while you're fasted, do it right before iftar. Okay. Right before. Okay. That way, yes, your body is going to be in a very stressed state right when you're training. But you're probably going to have a bit more energy and you're going to be motivated because it's just going to, like, you train, then you get to eat, right? And you're replenishing your body, its fuel immediately, right? So it kind of mitigates the muscle breakdown that comes from training. Okay. After iftar, I would say this is like the second best time to train. If you can make it work. Obviously it's difficult because if you want to make it to tarawih, to train before iftar, after iftar, it's like, you're going to be a bit tight on time. Also, you're probably going to have a smaller meal during iftar, or if that, maybe just, some carbs, getting sugar in the body, train, go to tarawih, maybe a protein shake, and then have your main meal. But, the issue with this is you're getting into your sleep, right? And that's something that we want to mitigate as much as possible. And then after tarawih, when you exercise, it stresses your body out again. So it messes with your sleep a lot. So you don't want to be working out in the 2 hours before you sleep, right? So training 2 to 3 times a week, short lifts, again, just compound movements, trying to maintain the muscle. Machines are really good during Ramadan because they mitigate injury risk. Okay. Volume, again, not that much, going very easy on the body. And it's telling your body, hey, I still need this muscle, right? Don't start burning it for energy during the day. Yeah, I talked a little bit about the timing worked. Now we can skip over this. I talked a little bit about how the timing works. Now let me get into sleep strategy. Again, your sleep is going to take a hit during Ramadan. There's just no avoiding it. And it's unideal because, sleep is the thing that you really want to make sure you get right. So if you're going to prioritize anything, try to prioritize your sleep, between how you eat and how you exercise. Like, I don't even, let me get quality sleep, right? But we have 90-minute sleep cycles. Okay. So ideally you sleep within these cycles. So you don't want to be waking up, halfway into a sleep cycle. Kind of do the math in your head, try to keep that in mind. There's a lot of different sleep strategies during Ramadan. I'm just going to say that consistency matters more than anything else. So having the same sleep schedule daily matters more than everything else. Because like I mentioned earlier, your circadian system, it reads, okay, when am I getting sunlight? When am I sleeping? And your body releases hormones based off of that. Now, if you're just switching up your sleep schedule every single day, your body has no idea what's going on. When does it make you tired? When does it optimize your hormones for sleep versus being awake? You're going to take such a huge hit in everything, right? So what matters is you pick something and you stick to it. Okay. Yeah. And then if you're going to do power naps, ideally you do them before like 3 p.m. Okay. Because you don't want it to eat into your nighttime. sleep, and then which is really where you're going to get the deep rest. And then keep it short, 20, 30 minutes. That allows you to sleep and to kind of rest your mind without getting into deep sleep. So other than that, 90-minute cycles, as we talked about. Now, here's some principles for sleep quality. Blackout curtains if you can. So obviously, while you're sleeping, you want your body to think you're sleeping, and you want to minimize the light in the room that you're sleeping. Now, keep in mind, like even a small light, like let me try to, I can't find one, but even like a small, like a light on your computer or something, right? Or some little gadget that you have in your room will affect your sleep seriously, right? So let alone like your windows, like light peeking through your windows, right? So if you can, try to black it out as much as possible. You want to, basically the rule of thumb is if like you want to be able to see nothing, right? Black. Take that seriously. Keep your room temperature cool. Okay. This is very important for sleep. I like anything under 68, I think is necessary. Phone on airplane mode in another room so that you don't scroll when you wake up and get on it. Also, it's good for EMFs. Keeping lights dim, which is repetitive. And then nighttime drink, you can kind of adapt to mine if you want. Again, helps a lot with sleep. And then something I didn't mention actually, yeah, real quick, something else that I didn't mention is the other peptide I'm experimenting with which works with pineolon, is epitolon. Now, this actually like really optimizes sleep. So I started taking it during Ramadan. Again, I'll have to report back on the benefits, but from my research, very, very helpful for just higher quality sleep, right? Let me kind of give a breakdown on how your body adapts cognitively during Ramadan. The first few days obviously is the hardest because your body is adjusting. Caffeine withdrawal, your sleep is thrown off, lower performance. It's difficult, but obviously you get through it quickly, inshallah, with patience. And then next, your headaches, kind of start to resolve. It starts to become easier, more mental clarity, more energy. Okay. Now day is 18 to 14. This is where the benefits like really come in a lot more when your body starts adjusting a lot. So fasting, especially dry fasting, also increases neuroplasticity, which again, blessing from Allah. And then yeah, by the time you're 2 weeks into Ramadan, your body is kind of almost fully adapted to the fasting. It's used to it. So your body is adjusted to it. And then your mental performance is back to normal, right? Throughout the day, again, like I mentioned, the morning is where you're going to be the sharpest. You're going to be able to get the most work done. Late afternoon, same thing. Sometimes you can get a bit more energy. And then after iftar, you got to be careful with how much you eat because you can really tank your energy by eating too much. And so, yeah, don't expect to do any type of work around this time. You probably won't have time anyways. And then late evening, obviously your cognitive function returns, but ideally, you're dedicating this to Tarawih. A few comments for women and how they should think about so obviously while you're menstruating, you don't have to fast. So obviously while you're menstruating, you're not fasting. So just eat and drink normally. I would recommend to try to be on the same sleep schedule that you would otherwise be on during Ramadan. But yeah, so just focus on recovery, eat foods rich in zinc, red meats, again, very helpful. During the phase right after your period, you're going to have better energy, more stress tolerance. So fasting is easier. Ovulation, obviously good energy, same thing. And then the time before your period, just beware. It's probably going to be a bit more difficult. You're going to be a bit more stressed out, more cravings, obviously. So just go easy, rest, go easy on your body. And yeah, you can track your cycle to help. Let me just go over really quickly kind of some rules, some ground rules with the supplements that I'm specifically taking. Thiamine, vitamin B1 or TTFD. You never want to take this with coffee and tea because the tannins, now I'm not a scientist, so I don't know, but some ingredient, it messes with it. So you don't want to do that. Regular collagen and UC2, I always take that separately because it's needed. Otherwise, the regular collagen will kind of overrun the benefits of the UC2. It'll get drowned out, Collagen, vitamin C, always take together. Collagen needs the vitamin C for collagen synthesis. A lot of vitamins, they need fats to properly absorb. So you want to be taking those with fats. Zinc and magnesium I take separately because otherwise they're competing for absorption in the body. So I take magnesium later on, right before I sleep. And then thiamine, again, morning only because it's because it increases energy. It's dopaminergic. Epitolon helps with sleep. So take it during bedtime. Pineolon, it can kind of cause insomnia if you're taking it at night for some people. So take that in the morning. And then vitamin E, it's important to take that for its benefits before you fast. What are some of the benefits of this protocol? Why is it designed the way it is? Okay. First of all, things like the spermidine, the curcumin, omega-3s, these amplify the autophagy in our body. So these boost that. Obviously, autophagy, very helpful. In fact, now Don't quote me on this, but again, do your own medical research, talk to your doctor for all of this. Probably should have said this in the beginning. But there's been a lot of research that I've seen about the benefits of fasting when it comes to cancer. And it's because fasting, your body starts eating the harmful, useless cells. You have that. So we're trying to obviously amplify autophagy. Cortisol, we want to lower it as much as possible. Stress hormone. Look, there is benefits to cortisol. Like there's a reason our body produces this, especially in the morning when we wake up, et cetera, et cetera. But we want to mitigate it as much as possible. A lot of people are chronically stressed, and fasting increases that. Gut microbiome. We want to take the opportunity to limit the amount of sludge that we're consuming every day by fasting, and then only ingesting foods that are very helpful and good for our gut so we can rebuild our gut microbiome. So that's another goal. Casein, again, casein is really important casein helps us with maintaining muscle because it slowly absorbs electrolytes. We want to be having that as much as possible, especially during suhoor. Circadian rhythm. That's why, we really want to optimize some of these supplements for sleep. I mentioned magnesium. It's a must-have. And then cognitive protection, right? So by the way, this is something I'm experimenting with. I don't know if it's exactly good because obviously with creatine, you probably heard just to take 5 grams every day, but 5 grams is very valuable for the muscle benefits to creatine. However, once you start getting into 10 grams, 20 grams a day, it starts having a lot of cognitive benefits. So I thought I might try out a higher dose for Ramadan, but obviously creatine requires a lot of water. And so only if you can really get enough water does it make sense to do. And just last few reminders. You want to manage your time effectively during Ramadan. So be very meticulous about preparation. I prepare a lot of my suhoor before I go to sleep. Same with the drink that I drink right before I go to sleep, my sleep potion, right? Don't overeat for iftar, okay? It really sucks overeating. Your body's still digesting food and then you're trying to go to sleep. It harms your sleep. So try not to overeat. And also it's like nobody wants to be stuffing themselves with food in the early morning because while you're already feeling full, right? So, you want to eat just enough. Sardines at suhoor, very beneficial. TTFD, I started it a few days before Ramadan because especially when you're deficient, which I'm assuming I was, in vitamin B1, it can kind of have the opposite effect where it gives you more fatigue and less focus. So that's why I started it before. So it does that for the first few days sometimes. And then hydration is probably the most important thing to focus on. Exercise and sleep matter more than supplements. I can't stress this enough, okay? I'm taking a lot of supplements to optimize my health, but I could remove 90% of it and still probably feel mostly the same. Okay, so don't be autistic with supplements, especially if you don't have the budget. Just a final reminder, look, during Ramadan, your health will take a hit. And so I hope you got a lot of value to optimize your health during Ramadan. But also after Ramadan, hopefully you got some inspiration on how to take care of your health. But ultimately, you're not going to be, operating at 100% during Ramadan, okay? It's always going to be degraded, maybe 70%, but that's a lot better than, 30%. People just absolutely destroying their health. So don't be one of those people. Take care of yourself. Our body is an amana from Allah. And so we want to be taking care of it, not eating poison, not consuming things that are bad from us. That being said, I hope this is beneficial and helpful for you. If I make a more in-depth, super focused video later on, I'll link it somewhere here, or I'll link some other video here. Enjoy. And with that being said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.